All right. Well, for the people that are new, I'm Jory Snyder, and I've been a Bee Sewing customer for a while. I live in the Tulsa area, and I'm a baby lock educator, and I'm so glad to be here with you guys. I'm doing club at all the Bee Sewing stores this year, so that's been really fun. Well, like Kaylin said, we've got stuff to cookouts and camping. And so we're going to start with this little koozie. We have 5 projects for you, and these are all of the projects that we're making. We're going to start with this koozie. So this koozie is actually made on the serger, and I'm going to turn it inside out so you can see a little bit of it. I left my tails so that you could see how I handled the tails. You do have to secure your tails somehow for this, or your project will come unraveled. I just used a needle and wove mine back in, and I think I'm going to use maybe a knot or some kind of a fray block or something, and then I'm going to cut them off. I left them longer so that y'all could see them. We used white thread so that you could see the stitching, but you can make yours blend, or you can use a pretty variegated thread. Before you make this, you could embroider it. You could do lots of stuff to personalize it. It would be so cute with a monogram for a little family camping trip. You know, Memorial Day is right around the corner. It is a free pattern that you'll get. So let me pull up what the handout looks like. Let's see, that's not it. Here it is. So there are a ton of koozie patterns on the internet. So we found one so that we could have a pattern, and then I rewrote it to work on the serger because I really like these kind of seams. So you're going to get an email from Bee Sewing, and it will have all of this information. It'll show you how to thread your machine. We're going to do a 2-thread flat lock, and I'll show you how to thread that. But while we're talking about flat locks, do you know what a flat lock is? Yeah, I see some people shaking their heads. Maybe there's some people that don't. All right, so a flat lock is 2 pieces of fabric that are butted up against each other. And so you don't have a lot of bulk in your seams. They use this a lot for like workout clothes and stuff because it helps prevent chafing. A lot of people with sensory issues, it's comfortable. It's common use for it. It's pretty strong. Let's see here. I've also seen this like on sportswear. I've seen it on like raglan sleeves and stuff. They'll do decorative stuff with it. It's just a really easy little stitch to do. And if you have a 4-thread serger, Baby Lock, I don't know if another brand would do it. I'm pretty sure it would, but if you have a 4-thread Baby Lock, you'll be able to do exactly what we're doing. I'm going to demo it on the Triumph, but any 4-thread serger should be able to do this. We're going to be using neoprene. Neoprene it's the same material that they usually make the koozies out of. It's got some insulation properties, so it's not like a Stanley cup. It's not going to keep your Coke cold for a couple of hours, but it will keep your hand from warming up your Coke. So you can find neoprene. I got this before Joann's was closing because we made these projects in like December, January. But you can order this. It's a utility fabric. It was hanging up on a roll in Joann's with the other utility fabrics. It was near the scuba diving fabric. I couldn't believe they had scuba diving fabric. I thought that was so cool. And it was actually pretty similar. So I'll pass that around and let's do this. So, okay. All of the patterns. So last month we didn't have any that were not Bee Sewing exclusives. This month we have a few, like the backpack is on a blog, and I'm going to show you guys where to get that. This month, if you go to sewinghoopla.com, that's my website, and if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's one called April 2005, a little blog post. And there's links to all of the stuff that we're doing. And the original koozie pattern, I did link it because that's where you're going to need to get the little pattern. All right, I didn't design this pattern. This has been around for as long as cans have been around, right? All right, Miss D, you think we can get the computer over here? Okay.
Not the computer, but I can get the camera.
The camera? Okay. All right, so Normally, when you're serging, you want to cut off a little bit of the edge, just a little smidge, right? So you want to make sure that your fabric gets cut a little bit because that's how you get a really pretty serged seam. Well, with a flat lock, you don't want the cut. You guys, my allergies are acting. Yes, thank you. You don't want the knife to cut your fabric. You actually want a little bit of the serger threads kind of hanging off. So when you look at it, it looks a little ugly, but then when you pull the fabric apart, there's room for the fabrics to move and they butt up against each other. So if you serge it where there's like we would normally serge it, when you open it up, the fabric's going to roll on itself because it doesn't have enough room. Does that make sense? All right. I did want to just talk about a few things. If you're sewing clothes or garments, you can use the lace foot for to help you make your hey guys, the lace foot. Let me see if I can show this here. The lace foot has this nice little edge right here. Can you see how it has that little slot? So that slot kind of protects your lace from being cut by the knife. And so while we're not using it for this purpose of putting on lace, we are using it to protect the fabric from getting cut by the cutter. And you can adjust this little bar right here and move it farther or closer, however you need to adjust it, so that when you pull your seam open, it lays perfectly flat. So you can use this to help you get consistent seams when you're creating the flat lock.
You could put lace on your koozie too, couldn't
you? You probably could. This is an alternate use for the foot, right? Because we're not using it for we can't use it for the neoprene. I did want to bring it up today just in case a lot of you have the foot kit, and this is a really good one to get out. So if you're sewing garments or something that is less that's not as thick, you can use this. The neoprene is pretty thick, and so one layer is a lot. 2 layers does not really fit in there, and it won't glide. But dig this thing out and play with it. It's the same concept is going to work for it. Okay. The machine is already set up for a 2-thread flat lock. It's pretty, if you follow the easy threading guide that I had pulled up earlier, and it's on that sheet that you're going to get, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You're using your lower looper, and your lower looper goes over here in this very first little thread slot, and then your 01 needle goes in the next thread slot, all right? And it's threaded just like you would thread it. There is one thing that you might miss, and I want to make sure I point that out. We're going to be using the subsidiary looper for this. So for most of our serging, the subsidiary looper is like over here, right? It's not engaged. We want to make sure that we engage it for this one. So you're going to just move that over just like that. Okay? Questions about that? I just want to make sure I point that out. Don't forget to engage your looper, your subsidiary looper. Yes, so to move it, you just pull it out and then you can move it. And the same thing, you can pull it out a little bit. Yeah, pull it out and then push it back. Yes, what is that noise? Is that me? Okay. Are they too close? Okay. There we go. I don't know how long y'all have been listening to that.
A while.
Okay. Okay. All right, I tell you what, I'm going to thread this just to show you how easy it is to thread. All right. Let me shut it up. Yeah.
Which direction?
Whoops.
Back behind. Yeah, like you're looking over her shoulder.
Okay. This is. Oh, it's in threading. There we go.
See what she's doing.
All right.
Maybe over
There we go. All right. To thread it, you put it into threading mode. You turn your hand wheel towards you, and these tubes are going to engage. You'll hear them click. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is click it into the thread guide, and it goes into this little thing. And if your foot is up, the thread will move freely. If your presser foot is down, everything is locked and it's harder to pull it. So I always move those up. This is the lower looper, so it's going to go in the L slot. And there it is. It just came right out over here. I mean, what was that, about 2 seconds? Yeah, okay.
It never works that fast.
I know, right? I have those moments too. So, okay, so the 01 needle just goes here in the second little tension guide. Just make sure it clicks. A lot of times when people are in the serger group on Facebook, the Baby Lock Serger community, one of the first things we always ask when they say that they have a problem, we always have them make sure they check this. And most of the time, that's what's not clicked in. It's amazing how just having that unclicked will mess up your whole stitch. All right, so it's going to go, it sits kind of in this little metal thing here, and it goes up and around behind that. And then I'm going to bring down my needle threader, and I'm going to cut it a little bit. This is one of my favorite needle threaders. I'm going to push the needle threader, and the little motor is going to come on, and I'm going to get the thread kind of close to the eye, and it's just going to suck it in there. And then you just lift it up.
What isn't that?
And there are 2 Baby Lock machines that have this special needle threader that sucks it. The Acclaim is the other one. So the Acclaim is a really nice option if you just need a 4-thread serger. I love it because it has that needle threader. There are some other needle threaders that are easy to use too, but I can't help it. I'm partial to this one. All right, so before you shut it, I'm going to show you what happens if you try to shut it and you haven't moved it to serging. It's not going to shut. All right, so you got to make sure you turn it into serging, and then it'll shut. And I'm just going to do, I always like to, you don't have to do a test, but I just always like to do a little test. All right. Yeah. All right. It's looking good. It looks really ugly because it's not meant to serge, but I just want to make sure everything's good. All right. So the secret to making this look nice is you want to always do a test with your fabric so that you can pull it and make sure that you have moved it over enough to give it enough space, okay? So always cut whatever fabric you're working with, cut you a little sample. And the neoprene I found doesn't glide under the foot as easily, especially when you have 2 layers. So I'm gonna raise the differential feed. I'm gonna increase it over here all the way up. That's not something you normally do for a flat lock. I'm doing it today just to kind of help glide. The other thing you can do is you can adjust your presser foot pressure. That would help as well. So you can do either or, you can do both when you're working with these thick fabrics.
Okay, what did you say first to do?
Yeah, this is on the handout as well for this. But for the neoprene, I raised my differential feed all the way up, and that's just going to help it glide a little better. That's not something you normally do for the flat lock. So I'm going to find a spot on here where I can just, there's little notches on the presser foot, and I'm just going to put it and line it up with one of those. I can see where my blade is, and actually you can have your blade locked or unlocked. It looks like she's got it locked, which is perfectly fine because that's what we need. So you're just going to kind of find a spot to kind of line it up with. When I made mine the first time, I lined it up with that little metal part right there inside the presser foot. Can you guys see that? Okay, so I might line it up just a smidge over from that, but here we go. And I always have to remind myself when I'm using thick fabrics, slow down, Jory, slow down. All right. Now, I didn't get a whole bunch off the edge, but we'll see what happens when I open it up. So now it should have been right sides together. The neoprene, it doesn't matter because they both look the same. But you're going to do your Oh, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. So,
Can you tell us the width and length on it?
yes, I just used the same. I just pulled that picture from the Easy Threading Guide. So if you have your Easy Threading Guide, and we can pull that handout back up so that you can see it, but it's just the standard settings for that.
I think it tells you between 2 and 4 on your stitch length
Yes.
and 7.5
Yep.
on your width.
Now, I'll pass around this sample. I think you always want to do a little test. So it's flat, and this would be perfectly acceptable for my koozie. But for my personal preference, I might do it just a smidgen over again because it's just, I can get that flatter. Does that make sense? You'll be able to feel a little bump, and one of the reasons that you feel a little bump is just because a little bit more thread hanging off of the flat lock would have helped that. Does that make sense? But yeah, you just pop it open. All right, I'm going to pass that around. Are there questions about how to do a flat lock? The big thing is just always make sure you make a sample so that you can pull it open and make sure it meets your standards. You can have it too far off. If you have it too far off, when you pull it open, you'll be able to see light between them. So there's a happy medium. You don't want it off too far. You don't want it off, you don't want it too close. But
I have a question.
yes.
Is that like ballpoint needles for neoprene or?
It's just the regular needle that was in here. I didn't change it, but that's a great question. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
embroider any differently with neoprene?
I would probably use a Microtex needle if I was going to embroider with neoprene. What would you use, Dee?
I'd probably just use my regular embroidery.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't even change it unless I embroidered on one and felt like
Would
I
you put
needed
it on
to
that
change it.
sticky back facing?
Yeah, I'd use that.
And
a
not put it in
topper.
the hoop?
Yeah,
Yeah, topper.
Yeah, float it.
I'd float it.
Oh, put something on top too. That
Yes,
clear.
yes. Because your stitches might sink into this because it's kind of I think a topper. Yeah, yes, the sponge is the word we're looking for. So the pattern is really easy to cut. Neoprene stretches both ways. So one way is just slightly more stretchy than the other. So when you're filling your fabrics, just the way that has more stretch, just make sure you cut your pattern that way because it's going to be a really tight fit, and so you want to have the most stretch going around the drink. But it gets cut on the fold, and then so you basically have this. Oh, I'm out of time for flat lock. You basically have double this, and you can embroider it or whatever at this point, and then fold those up and do your flat lock. And again, neoprene, the black looks the same, so you don't even have to worry about right side, wrong side. So, and you can find a ton of these. You can even find the ones for the glass bottles. I like the glass Cokes, and so you can even do a different one. You don't have to do the koozie. You could do for a different type of beverage. But all right, any more questions? You guys have good questions. All right, let's see what is coming up next. Okay. Patches. I don't even have the patches out. See, that's how out of it I am. All right, you have a handout for patches. So let's pull this up. Let's see here. You have a handout for patches. All right, so these are actually OESD patches. Well, they're not patches, they're OESD embroidery designs. They're not meant to be patches, but we turn them into patches. So let's see. I gotta set the timer so I don't go over on this one. All right. Okay. Let's show you guys the designs. Let's start there. There's our koozie. And okay, so this OESD design is called Take a Hike. And I want to show you some of these designs because they are so cute, and the whole collection is $10. $10. Let's pull this up. So they're meant to be embroidered on an item. So here they are. I think there's 8 items in the collection. So sorry. Okay. Yes, questions about the designs themselves. All right. If you're interested in these, do you want to take, or are they just going to tell us at the register?
They'll probably just have to mark it on their thing, let us know at the register. 'Cause,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you're interested, let us know at break. How about that? All right. Let's get back to the good stuff. All right. When I saw these, I thought they were patches, and I got so excited, and I opened up the designs, and they weren't patches. And so that's kind of what is inspiring this. So I kind of femined it up a little bit. Is that a word? All right. I used purple, hot pink, and yellow to make them more girly. So I really like the colors that I went with. So you have 2 color options. The original options are lovely, but they're just more masculine. And these are a little bit more feminine. So we're going to talk about 2 different ways to make patches. So I'll start with the easiest way. So the bear represents the easiest low-tech way to make a patch. And I learned this at an Anita Good Design event, and I guarantee there's probably people in here that do this. So this will work with any embroidery design. You hoop a piece of felt, and you stitch directly on the felt. And when you're done stitching, you just cut around it, and you leave about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, just what your preference is, and that's your patch. And the felt is the base, and it just holds everything together. And I've seen patches for sale at stores that are made this way. So it's a perfectly acceptable way to make a patch. You don't have to have any special software. I like to cut my felt really close, so I think I cut mine about 1/16 of a way, but I've seen people that leave it 1/8 to 1/4, and they'll use that to sew the patch down. So I'll pass that one around. Questions about just the low-tech way, really easy. Has anybody made a patch like that? I'm sure most people have, yeah. Super easy. It works with anything. Okay. This one is a palette hack. So I have 2, and there's a reason I have 2, because whenever you do something in palette or IQ, you have to do a test stitch, right? So the first one, to most people, it probably looks okay. I've bought patches that look like this before, like on vacation and stuff on hats. But there were some things about this I didn't like that I fixed on the second one. So if you're going to do if you're going to make your own patches, just be prepared. You need to do a test sample, okay? All right. These are made a little bit different. So what we're going to do for these, you're not going to embroider them. You're not going to start with your felt. You're going to start by hooping the Wet and Gone stabilizer. It washes away, so that's what you're going to start with. And we're going to create a tack down that is just smaller than the patch, so it's not visible. And that's what we're going to do in palette. Now this technique only works if your design has satin stitching on the outside of it. So all of the OESD designs that we looked at today, they all have satin stitching on the outside. I could have done the bear like that. It will work with any shape, but it just has to have satin stitching already on the outside, okay? The felt will work with anything. This one, you have to have the satin stitching. Okay, questions about the differences? All right, so I'll tell you what I don't like. So when I stitch this, there is felt, I still use felt, but it's just you can't see it on this one. I used white felt, and I discovered when I stitched it out that the color of the mountains really needs to be the color of my felt, because down here at the bottom, you can see the felt. So on the second go round, I used purple felt, and that took care of that, so that made me happy. And here in a second, when I created the first shape, you have to reduce it a little bit so that it's smaller, and I didn't reduce it quite enough, and you can still see the little felts kind of poking out. You can't, I mean, it's not a lot, but you can just still see them. So this one's, I think, perfect, and this one is, you know, my test one, so I'll pass that. All right. And you guys are welcome to interrupt me and ask questions. Any questions about that? Yeah, yes, I'm gonna do it with you real quick. All right, let's pull up Palette. Palette's my baby. We could do an hour and a half of Palette every month. I would love that at club. All right, I've got Palette open, and I'm pretty sure you can do this in Floriani as well. I don't know the steps for doing it in Floriani, but it's going to be similar. Basically, what we're going to do, you know, the flower icon where you can capture the outline of something yes. So we're going to do something similar in Palette. Palette doesn't have it doesn't have a flower icon, but we're going to kind of do that same concept. I'm going to use a backdoor approach, okay? I'm using a tool that's not meant for what I'm using it for, but it gives me the results that I want. All right, so let me open up the design. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to open up the embroidery design that you want to use. So I've got my patch right here. Let's see here. Oh crap, yeah, y'all are Floriani defaults. Yep, okay, let's do you dang Floriani people. All right, we'll just open it with Palette. Okay. All right, got it open. The next thing that we're gonna do is, it's a good habit when you start working in Palette to always set your hoop size. It doesn't necessarily matter because the design will fit in any hoop that it'll fit in. Even if I, like for example, this patch, even if I say I want to set it up for the largest hoop, it really goes by the size. But it's a good idea to get in the habit of sizing your hoop so that you have a visual. So for example, I'm going to go up here to the flower icon and I'm going to select design settings. It's got a little hoop next to it. And I always like to select whatever hoop I'm going to be using just so that I can see the outline of it, so that I can make sure what I'm designing is not too big. Does that make sense? Okay. If you had to make changes here, you'll click OK. I'm not making any changes, so I'm going to click cancel. But this box right here, that is my hoop. Okay, so that's just kind of how much space I have to work with. All right. We're going to use, I remember I told you we're going to use a tool that's not meant for this to create this outline. So I'm going to go to background fill. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go to decorative fill, and we're just going to click out here in the hoop. All right, I'm going to go to next. The only thing I need to worry about is I just need to make sure minimize feed is checked. And what minimize feed does is when you're stitching out, we're not going to be stitching this out, but minimize feed is going to help us get the outline. So when you're stitching out the fills or the quilting, the decorative quilting that we have, when you get to the edge, if the pieces aren't connected, it will jump and go to the next spot. And so it'll cut a whole bunch of times and jump. Minimize feed, if that box is checked, that gives it permission to travel along the edge. And that's going to create an outline for us. All right, so minimize feed is it's gonna give us what we need. So just check minimize feed. I'm gonna click OK. And there's my quilting. So the really cool thing is this created a shape in Palette. So it's selected. I'm gonna go up to shapes. And right now, the top one is outlines and the bottom one is what's inside, okay? So if I come up here and I select running stitch, watch what happens to my sewing order. Look what we've got now. Do you guys see what happened over here? So when I selected running stitch, it popped up a rectangle and a triangle. Okay, so do you guys know why it popped up the rectangle? Where's the rectangle coming from? Yeah, that's the size of my hoop. And then of course the triangle is my patch, right? All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna click off of it and I'm gonna select this quilting. I'm just gonna click on it and select it right there in the arrow, and I'm gonna click delete. So I have my shape now. That's what I wanted, right? Okay, so I've got my shape. I don't want it to be the same size as the patch. That's what it is right now. It's the exact size of the patch. So I'm going to left click on the triangle that I created. I'm gonna select it with the select pattern tool. I'm gonna go home, and I'm gonna go to size. And we're going to start with a percent. Now, on the one I didn't like, I did it at 95%. I usually start with about 95%, and I'll explain why here in a second. 95% is just a little bit too big. So if you do this one, 94% will be perfect. But if you're doing one on your own where you're just kind of playing, start with about 95%. So I'm gonna put 94% in, and because maintain aspect ratio is highlighted, it's gonna go ahead and change both of them for me. So if I hit preview, it changes them. I'm gonna click OK. You can't see this because this is my sewing order and this is stitched out first, so all of this other stuff is on top of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the color something really bright so that you can see it, and then I'm gonna drag it to the bottom of the sewing order so that you can kind of see what it looks like here. To drag it to the bottom of the sewing order, you just click on it, and then you literally just drag it to the bottom. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so that you can see it. Can you see that yellow line? Can you guys see it? Okay, so do you see how it's still touching the satin stitching, but it's not inside the satin stitching or outside the satin stitching, it's just kind of right there touching it, right? That's about where we want it. And so on these, you just kind of have to play with it sometimes. If you get it too far off of the satin stitching, it might not be enough to support the patch. Does that make sense? So questions about why we resized it to 95, 94%? Any questions? All right. So at this point, I'm done with everything I need to do in palette. So I'm going to select the design. I just click on something in the design and it's all connected together. So then if I click the little select patterns tool, it all selects it. And I'm going to hit delete. And I would send this to my machine. And then the first thing I would do is I would hoop some Wet and Gone in my 5x7 or my 4x4, whatever hoop you're using, hoop Wet and Gone, and I would run this stitch directly onto the stabilizer. And then I would lay down my felt or whatever you're using. There's different companies that make different products, you know. I know there's like a patch base, and I can't remember who makes it, but it's kind of like a canvas that's been treated with some kind of non-fray stuff. Really, ideally, you want something that's not going to fray, you know. It's not going to be showing, but it would just be way easier if it didn't fray. You know what I mean? It'd be easier to work with. Felt is the easiest thing to work with. So I just used felt. So you're going to run this set of stitches again to tack it down, and then you're going to cut, all right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to get rid of it in your machine, and you're going to pull up your original design, and you're just going to stitch it out, all right? And because you only have one thing on your hoop, it's going to go to the center.
On the felt, and you use just regular craft felt?
Yeah. I use just the like little sheets of craft felt that I got at the, you know, and you can also buy it by the yard, you know, but yeah, just something cheap, just something to support it. And so when you're done stitching it, you rinse out your stabilizer, and then if you dry it off with a paper towel, get all the stabilizer rinsed out of it. Sometimes there might be some little ugly edges, just especially where it starts and stops. What you can do is you can take a lighter, and if you used polyester thread, which I'm assuming most of us do because that's Floriani, you can just take a little lighter and just kind of hit it on the edge. Now, be careful, it's polyester thread, so if you go at it, the whole thing's gonna melt. But so I'm just saying, just touch the edge of it. You're just touching it enough so that those little pieces that are straggles melt together, you know? Questions? Comments? Anything? Man, you guys are letting me off easy. No questions? Okay. Hopefully you can use at least one of those patch methods. All right. Dee, they're quiet today. The weather's... Yeah. All right, there's those patches. All right, we're gonna do this little backpack next. This backpack is a free pattern. And if you were here early, then you heard me say this, so I'm going to repeat myself. Sorry if you've already heard this, but this fabric is made in Ohio, and it's printed in Ohio. It's a small family business. They're the last, remaining people that own a mill that does this kind of thing in America. So it's really cool that this is made and, you know, American jobs. I just love that. It's a canvas. It's really wide. I think it's 54 inches wide. It's the same material that we did the quilted rugs out of. Do you guys remember the quilted rugs? The same lady designed this backpack, and I just love it. Her sample's right there, and she quilted hers just, she's kind of a hodgepodger, and she just goes for it. I quilted mine on the embroidery machine. So I'm gonna hold something up real quick. Let's see here. I don't want to go over to break. You guys want a break, right? I mean, you need to get up here in a minute. All right. Let me talk about the bag and then I'll talk about the quilting. So the bag is a fold over and it has 2 D-rings up here, and that's how you shut it. Keep it closed. This has a total of 4 D-rings, and they're rectangle D-rings. The other D-rings are holding the little strap base on, okay? So it has 4 D-rings, and then it has 2 adjustable straps. So you can adjust the size of your straps on both of those. This fits D. I was so sad when I did this because I put a tag on it and everything. I was like, oh, this is gonna be so awesome. And you guys, I look like a little fat kid. I mean, I couldn't even get it on. So if you're gonna make this for yourself, you definitely, even for D, she wants her strap a little bit longer. This is probably sized for like a teen or a kid, but so I would probably at least add another yard into my strapping, you know. The lining is drop in, and it has boxed corners. And so if you bought the ruler from, when we did the ruler, was that in February? Or the die, you can box your corners that way. I always like using my tools. I'll pass that around. And I'm gonna show you guys a really fun way to quilt it. You may have already seen this. So I call this not edge to edge quilting. So when you're doing edge to edge, you have a start and a stop on every design that connects to the next one, right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? All right, so I'm gonna hold up the back. I got so into quilting this at a retreat that I was going to town, and then I was like, oh my God, I've got way too much fabric. Okay, so can you tell where it starts and stops? Yes. So yes, because I've told you guys that it doesn't match up, you can kind of see that now, right? I probably should have held it up first and been like, can you guys see this? So what you do is these are called background or backdrop quilting, and you just get them close together. And for small projects, especially like the bags that you're going to be cutting up anyways, it's perfect. I even quilt my little minis like this that are wall hangings. It's just a really easy way to quilt. I'm going to show you how to do it. But you just get the designs close together, and if somebody doesn't quilt, they would not even notice that those designs are not connected. Like it's, I mean.
They would not unless you tell them.
Yes, exactly, they wouldn't. So, all right, there's a couple of places that I know of where you can get these designs. Kimberbell has a bunch on her website. I think this is actually a Kimberbell one. This is one of the large scale quilting designs. If you have an embroidery machine that has IQ Designer, you can create ones like this with stippling. I wouldn't advise using a decorative fill because they're too thick. And when you use a decorative fill, remember we talked about earlier, if you don't have the outline around it, it's gonna cut like 1,000 times. And so you definitely don't wanna put an outline around it because that would make it look, does that make sense? So you can't use the decorative fills with this, but you can use stippling. So you can create your own background quilting using stippling. Designs by Juju has some that are just, I think she calls them backdrop. For my embroidery ladies, are there any other companies that you guys know of that have the ones that are just meant to be used like this? I know there's gotta be more out there.
I was looking at the back.
Yeah.
Who'd you say?
Kimberbell, Designs by Juju.
I was gonna say I do.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay, so This is the Baby Lock magnetic hoop that's 10 by 10. You can do this in a regular hoop. It's just easier if you have a magnetic hoop. So I've kind of started by already embroidering something. Oh, you're jingling. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So for the project, you don't have to make a quilt sandwich. You just need fabric and batting. Okay, so I am short on batting. We're going to pretend like I've got a big piece of batting, right? You're going to have to pretend with me. But on yours, you're going to have fabric and batting. You don't need a quilt sandwich because you're going to put a lining in it. So you just need the top and the thing. Excuse me. So one of the things you want to do is you're working on a flat surface, and it's not recommended to do it on the machine. You want to take the machine off, you want to take the hoop off and lay it flat, and you just move your quilting over. If you've ever used these before, the 10 by 10 has really strong magnets. If you have problems with dexterity or have problems getting the magnets off, there's a little tool that comes with the hoop, and you just pop it in there. All right, so make sure you don't throw that away if you have one. But there are little arrows on them, and the arrows go towards the center. And you just lay your fabric, and then you kind of start in the center, and you just push your magnets up. Okay? Now on the one, let's see, okay, so here's my top. On this one, you want to make sure that you get them over, and you leave a little gap right here for when you're because your foot has to have somewhere to go, right? So you're going to slip your foot in between here. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to roll these up and clip them, okay? When you're embroidering, you don't want all this mess that could get caught. So you'll have those rolled up and you'll have them clipped. All right. And I think we will need the camera.
Would you ever quilt the lining to it?
Yeah, so, yes, I was
I
looking.
heard a question over here. She said,
Okay.
I wonder if you could use soft and stable.
Yes, you can. Soft and stable will work, yes. You actually get a lot more, just like with your Bianni bags. It'll look just like that. It'll be more body, more stuff. I added rivets to mine. The rivets, I'll talk about that here in just a second, yeah. Okay, and then she asked, can you do your back? Yes, you can do your back. You just make your quilt sandwich. So if you're doing your back, you want to make sure that the whole thing's smooth, right? But yeah, you can. I do a quilt sandwich all the time when I'm doing my little minis. So I didn't put the foot on because I'm not actually going to embroider, but your foot would be here and you would just slide it between those things. Let's bring it over. And Dee's going to get our camera. I tell you what, we'll go over and under. Yes. Okay. All right. I did put a stippling design on that sewing hoopla place if you want to just play with one. I'm using a 10 by 10 hoop, so the stippling that I made was like 8.5. You can't use the size of your hoop because you have to have some wiggle room. All right, so your design needs to be a few inches smaller than your hoop so that you can match the designs up. All right. Please, 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 please make sure you have this all clipped. All right. Don't go willy-nilly because it will, when you're not paying attention, it'll go underneath there and you'll have your fabric all together. Okay, I'm going to pull up the design, the stippling design. And I'm so sorry, I'm going to get a cough drop here. You know how when you have allergies, it's fine, and then you start talking, and it just, Okay, I've got the design pulled up.
Do you want it on your screen or do you want it on here?
Yeah, I want to show them I want to show them a couple of things over here. Okay, so you can totally scan the camera and use the camera to line up your quilting. I think that takes too much time. I want to go. So it's faster to use the projector. So I'm going to turn the projector and I'm going to show you how I do it, but you can use the camera as well. The projector is the little cone tool. And if you don't have a projector or a scanner, like for example, the Altair Meridian, it has a little foot, your foot plugs in back here, and it has a little laser that shows you where it's going to start sewing. So you can use that as a tool. So no matter what machine you have, there's a way to double check your placement. Okay, I turned the projector on, and it should be, oh good, it's perfect. So over here, I do want to show you, if you have the Radiance, one of the things we noticed is the design and on the Solaris, it doesn't allow you to drag it with your finger like this. So this is kind of something new that's cool. So I can either touch the corners and move the projector, or I can touch the design itself and move it. Okay, so if you have the Radiance, you have to be aware of what you're pulling. So I'm going to pull the projector all the way to the side, and now we can go to the design. So can you see how far that is from each other? Can they see that?
Right, let's see.
Maybe. See how far away those are? So I'm going to move it a little bit closer. I'm just kind of dragging it with my finger. Woo! Now do you see how they're overlapping? You don't want them to overlap. So there's little arrow keys, and that kind of gives me a little bit more control. If you're heavy-handed, you know, I know I'm not alone being heavy-handed. Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little wiggly.
No, you're all good. It's hard to hold the camera.
It is.
Okay. Oh, Jory went too far. So this is what you do. And then down here, it's too low. I'm going to move it up a little bit. Pretty good. Okay, so now what I would do before I stitched it, I would just drag the projector around and just double check and make sure it's not going to touch any of the existing stitching. So if I have stuff above it, I would check, and if I have stuff to the side of it, I would check. And if it looks good, I go with it. This works with a lot of the designs that the designers make are not geometric. So if you get a little crooked or something, you're not going to be able to tell on this, you know. It's fast and furious. That's why I like it. It is super fast. Has anybody done this before where you just line it up and you get it close? Okay.
I don't have all the fancy,
Okay.
and so I just get it close,
Yeah,
and nobody's gonna notice it but me.
exactly. And I will say that Kimberbell has clear blue tiles. If you have the Solaris or the Radiance or the Altair or the Meridian, you don't need those because you have tools that are very helpful that are built into your machine. But if you have a different model, the clear blue tiles are helpful because it has the size that you're going to embroider, and you can plan out your design with these little plastic templates. And on the USB, and we have some here in stock in the shop, it comes with a USB that has some of the designs. You get 4, one for each season to kind of get you started. Like I said, I don't use them because, you know, yeah, you can put that down. Our machines have this, but if you wanted something to help you mark the placement of where all yours are going to be, it even has a little spot for you to mark the center. So the clear blue tiles would be another tool that you could use if you have a smaller machine. But all the machines have placement tools. Some are just a little bit easier to use than others. So I like your workaround too, and you're right. This is super, super easy. All right, nothing. Okay, how about we come back? It's about 5 till. What if we start back up at 2:10? Would that work? All right, I hope you guys have a good break. Hey, were there any questions about the backpack? I think we got it, right? And you guys know where to find the free pattern. If you just go to Sewing Hoopla and scroll all the way down to April, there's a link to the backpack, and there are wonderful pictures, step-by-step pictures. This is a great pattern. We might have it. Because this is an older blog from like 2020, and that's an older kit that I have, I don't know if it's even something that they can still make, but I can ask Kevin if we have something similar in the warehouse. We can definitely ask. All right.
Sewing Hoopla.
Yes. All right, let's get started on the next project. The next two are really fun. They're sewing projects. I can't think straight today. I'm trying to pull up my cheat sheet so I can look. We're going to do the silicone pot holder. So let's do that. Okay. All right. So this is a pattern and a blank that you can buy. $2.15. All right. This is from Hot Stuff Oven Mitt. So when you buy it, you get a pattern and you get this little silicone piece that there's fabric in it right now, but it's just going to be this clear piece, and it kind of looks like a short pot holder. All right, and this is the blank. The blank comes pre-made, like the silicone part, and you're sewing to the edge of it. So you're adding fabric inside of it. So you add a fabric that goes on the outside, you add a fabric that goes on the inside, and you add a band. And you're sewing all of these things around the edge, okay? So, have you ever made a pot holder? And when you make pot holders with a couple layers of batting, it can be really hard to get it to look really nice around the fingers, right? Especially around the thumb. The really nice thing about this one is the only one that you have to turn right side out just has fabric. So you'll have a couple of pattern pieces, and one, you have great directions too. There's great diagrams. The designer has a video, and then there's several other people on the internet, on YouTube, that have created videos. So if you Google the brand and the title of it, several of those videos will pop up. So you'll get these 3 pattern pieces, and as you can see, the cuff is slightly curved. I just think that's so pretty. It just gives it a little pretty. But you have these 2 pieces, and one of them you're going to make with just your outside fabric. So you put your 2 pieces of fabric that you want to be out here. This is French fries, right side together, and then you turn it. And that turning fabric is really easy, right? What's really challenging to make it look nice is that part that has the batting, right? You don't have to turn that, because what it is it's the part that's got your quilting and your batting. So I used, on each side of mine, I also added a layer of heat resistant batting. You don't have to use heat resistant, but I just wanted to use that. I quilted it, and then once you're done sewing it together, right sides together, you just drop it in there, because it's going to be ugly sides together. This pretty side is what's out. Does that make sense? So I loved that I didn't have to turn that thick part. Like when I saw that in the pattern, I was like, ah. So the silicone, sewing the silicone, you would think it would be really hard, right? It's not. It's like sewing faux leather. So it's recommended that you use a size 90 Microtech needle or a sharp needle. And the first thing that you do when you drop the pieces in is you'll baste them in. And then you add the cuff and top stitch the cuff. I mean, it is really the easiest thing, and it is not hard at all to sew over the silicone. I use the digital dual feed foot because that is thick, and that helped my stitches to stay more nice and pretty. I did pull all of the stuff off of the machine so that I could use the free arm, because when you're adding the binding around the cuff, you do want your free arm. And again, I still use my digital dual feed foot. It's the one that plugs in. If you don't have that, you could use a Teflon foot. You could use a walking foot. That was probably the biggest challenge on the Solaris, because the Solaris free arm is about the same size as this. But if you have a smaller machine, that would work even better. But it was pretty simple. If you tried this on, a couple of ladies, we were talking about the cuff. So a couple of the ladies tried it on and their arms didn't fit past the cuff. So we were troubleshooting. You could do a knit cuff, a cotton knit cuff. Instead of doing a big cuff like this, you could do one that's a little bit shorter. So there's different ways to kind of make it fit. I got that question yesterday. Any questions about the oven mitt? It's in there pretty good. It's not going to come out. And you can wash this. I don't know why I would need to, but you can wash it. When you're pressing it and stuff, you don't even have to worry about burning the blank because it's heat resistant. So you can just go to town. I did put my iron on it and hold it, and I held it for about a minute and a half before I started getting uncomfortable because I just wanted to know, how long it would last. So this is great for grilling and like areas where, there's a lot of heat, right? So here we'll pass it around. If you guys would like to see that, would you like to see that? There you go. And I can pass the pattern around as well. Good news, amazing news. I'm stocking up for Christmas. Right now, the pattern is on sale. So Misty, how much is the pattern?
The pattern's on sale for $10.39.
It comes with one blank.
And then you can buy refills, the silicone mat refills if you want to make more for $6.
$6. That's 40% off. It's been around for a while. It's just been on my bucket list. So when we were doing camping and we wanted something heavy duty, this was the first thing that came to my mind. It was really fun to make. And I think people will really like it as gifts too. I can see doing collegiate fabric. I can see doing lots of stuff to really get people excited. They have other things. They have like little tiny mitts, that are just for like the fingers. They have so many different little products that have to do with silicone. So I think we're going to need to add those, Kaylin. I think we need to. But we do today. You can order the square trivets or the item from the hot mitt from Club. Okay. Last project is probably my favorite. This is a 40-ounce drink cup holder. And it's meant to hold like this, but you know what? I think when I remake another one, I'm going to make it so it's like a cross strap. If you made it just a little bit longer, that'd be so comfortable for hiking and stuff. I'm going to pass this fabric around. It's made with a special mesh. The mesh has foam in it. The middle's foam, and then it has a piece of mesh on each side. And the mesh is different, so you can pick which side you like better for the outside. What's really nice about this for camping is if it gets wet, it'll dry fast. Who floats the river? Do you guys float the river? Okay. I was going to say in Tulsa, everybody goes to Tahlequah and floats the river. So Memorial Day weekend, it'll be crazy out there. But this would be so great to go in the raft. All right. The pink hardware is a collaboration between Sally Tomato and Tula Pink, and we have it on sale for 40% off. So the hardware. So the pattern is on sale as well. The pattern's normally $13. We've got it on sale for $9, and I'll pass it around. When it's going around, I want you to look at some stuff on the pattern because we have this webbing for sale. This webbing's on sale. How much is the cut of webbing?
The webbing is the leopard violet rose webbing.
Yep.
What we decided.
Mm-hmm.
It's $5.39 on sale for 3 yards.
That's a great deal. Well, we have black as well. So if you want a solid black, we've got that. And then when the pattern goes around, make sure you take a look at this one that looks like half square triangles. Where's my quilters at? Because that one's my favorite one. But I think they're on sale. Were they on sale for? I know that was the sale price, but I think they're on sale. I think it's either 35 or 40% off. So it's a really low price. So we've got the mesh fabric. We've got the strapping that's 1.5 inches. We have the hardware. And I didn't even show you guys how this comes off. It just comes off just like that. Can go back on. It works with a Stanley cup. I took it into Target and was trying different cups. I know they probably thought I was going to steal it. But you can it comes with instructions on how to make a little optional comfort cushion strap for your strap. My husband likes it without the bag. So you don't have to make the bag. The bag has 2 separate zipper compartments for your money, food, candy, yeah, your cell phone if it'll fit in there, absolutely. And it just, if you've used that, you can just pin it right back on there. And we have all of the requirements. So if you want to get the hardware to make this, the ladies at the register have it. And all you need is 1 package of each of the hardware. And on a couple of those, you'll have some left over that you could use for something else. Let's see here.
The mesh we're selling by half yards, and it's $6 per half yard.
So it's 40% off. Yep.
So is the zipper included with that hardware?
The zipper's 40% off as well. Let me pass this around. I'm running out of time. Let me show you guys the pattern pieces. There is a video for this. It's on Sally Tomato's YouTube channel. I will say it's rated a 3 out of 5, like beginner level, right? So if you have not ever installed a zipper, this is probably not a project you want to start with. If you're going to do the zipper bag, the reason I say that is because you're putting a zipper on a curve. And it's not hard, but if you've never done a zipper before, I definitely would not want that to be your first zipper. But if you've done a zipper before, then you're going to be good. Most of the pieces are cut out with a ruler, and then there's a couple, the circle on the bottom, there's a pattern piece for that. And then there's a pattern piece for the odd shape of the drink carrier as well. But most of the pattern pieces are cut out with a ruler. You got a question? We don't have it here, but it's on sale for $9, and we do have some in the warehouse, so I mean, it would be here within like a week. Yeah, so it'd be here pretty fast. But I'll pass that around. If you don't like the mesh, you can use foam. So like the Bosal foam, what brands do we sell here? The By-Annie foam, you can use that, and quilting cotton, or the heavier duty canvas. There's that. And we did want to show you guys some of the hardware. The zipper by the yard. We've all seen those, right? Because a lot of us make the By-Annie bags. Have we done the zippers by the yard? Okay, so the zipper by the yard, we have some, and it has pink teeth. So we've got black with pink teeth. I wanted to show you some zippers. We've got, I don't know, this one's called Raindrop. It's like a green color with pink teeth. There's white with pink teeth. This one is purple. It's called Pink Moonflower. And we even have navy with the pink teeth. So the zippers are really cool, and they all come. No, you order them through us. They're 40% off.
We don't have them in stock here. They're in the warehouse.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, at club last night, Missouri had all of these in stock just because they carry these normally. And I hope that if you guys really like these, the store will start stocking them as well. I had my basket full. You get 5 yards, I believe. Yeah, so it'll make lots of projects. You get these zippers with them, but what I want to No, you're good. I want to show you that if you make the By-Annie bags, I wouldn't recommend using this on this because it's too small. But they have these zippers right here will fit on those pulls, and they've got a ginormous head. So it's oversized. So we do have these if you guys would like the oversized zippers. The zippers by the yard, they come with zipper pulls. But if you want to be extra and use these ginormous ones on a bag or something, that would be really fun. There's all kinds of hardware. So if there's hardware that you want for bags you use a lot and you would use them, we can look those up. But I'm going to show you, let's see here. For this project, you need 2 different size swivel hooks. So there's swivel hooks that are connected to the webbing, and then there's swivel hooks that are connected to the bag. And those are 2 different sizes. And we have all of those requirements at the register. So you don't have to worry about writing them down. If you want them, you can just let them know, and they'll order you one of those. You need 4 D-rings. So here's the D-rings, and one package has 4. But there's all kinds of extra hardware like zipper ends and stuff that are extra. So if there's something that you know you use for bag making and you want, let them know at the register and they can definitely get that for you. For the zipper by the yard, there's different ways to put the heads on, but the heads don't come on the zipper. It's just going to be a yardage of zippers. So what you do is you usually cut your zipper. I like to cut mine longer than what I need because when I'm sewing, I don't want to mess with that head. So I'm okay with wasting zipper on each end because it saves me a lot of headache having to mess with that head. So I usually cut mine so that I've got enough on each end so that I can get the head out of the way. But the zipper pulls will be off, so you'll cut your zipper and you'll want to get nice clean edges, good scissors. I burn the edges of my tape to keep it from fraying. And then you're going to pull your tape. There's different ways to do it, but I like to pull the tape apart. And I will say that when I first started, I used a zipper jig. It's like a third hand. So now that I'm a little bit more experienced, I don't need the zipper jig, but you might find a zipper jig helpful, and we do have these. We can special order them. They're Gypsy Quilter zipper jigs, and they have numbers. You can see number 5 and number 3. So the number 3 ones are the small ones that we use for clothes. The number 5 ones are the big ones that we use for By Annie. Oh. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm working backwards. So you're going to put the zipper backwards and the curved part goes at the top. Okay? Curved part goes at the top. The zipper, the back part's facing you. And I usually do the left side first just because I'm left-handed, but it really doesn't matter. But you kind of stick it in one side. And I will say this, now that I'm not used to using the zipper jig, sometimes it feels weird because I'm used to doing it just with my hands now. So you put one side in and you get it going. And you're working from the back side. Then you will put this one in and you can just kind of feel it click. And then once you kind of feel it click, you grab both ends and you just pull. Now what you have to do is if you pull it all the way, it's going to go all the way off, right? So stop, don't stop. Now you're going to have your ends will be slightly uneven. Who cares? You're going to cut them, right? Like that doesn't matter. So this is a really easy way to put a zipper in. And this is, I'm telling you, when I first started doing this, I used the zipper jig every time because it's awkward. You almost need an extra hand. Yeah, we have them, and they are. It's called the Gypsy Quilter zipper jig. And yeah, but yes, so you'll just get zipper heads and just a whole bunch of yardage of zipper, and you just cut it. And the secret is to don't let that baby fray because that zipper head's not gonna go on if it's fraying. So burn it, melt it. And I also melt the edges of my webbing. Your webbing that we're using, it's a polyester. So when you cut it, it's going to fray. Melt those ends so they don't fray on you, okay? All right, thank you ladies so much. Does anybody have questions about the Casablanca or any of the projects? All right.